crankbaits are hands down one of the most important lures in bass fishing. If you're a beginner looking for a lure that does the work for you, this is where you start. Today we're doing a deep dive on the crankbait, how it works, why bass can't resist it, and how to pick the right one for your water. The crankbait's lineage goes all the way back to 1915, when the Creek Chub bait company out of Indiana released the first wakeless lure with a metal diving lip. That lure was the first hard bait that could dive and wobble on the retrieve, a design breakthrough that laid the foundation for every crankbait that followed. Among serious anglers, the crankbait is considered one of the four pillars of bass fishing, alongside the Texas rig, the drop shot, and the spinnerbait. In fact, data from the Bassmaster Elite Series over 25 years shows that shallow to medium diving crankbaits account for more tournament-winning fish than any other lure category. So what makes the crankbait so deadly? It is arguably the most perfectly engineered imitation of bass forage ever designed, and it triggers a bass's instinct to attack like nothing else. Here is something most anglers do not realize: over 90% of a bass's decision to strike happens before the fish ever sees the lure. A bass's lateral line and inner ear are its primary long-range detection tools. Vision is just the final confirmation. The crankbait's secret weapon is hidden in that chunky, rounded body. As the lure wobbles through the water, it displaces water and creates pressure waves, much like the wake of a small boat. The vibration frequency of that wobble falls squarely within the 10 to 100 Hz range, which is where the bass lateral line is most sensitive. A bass can feel a crankbait coming from over 30 feet away. And the lip, do not underestimate the lip. It is not just a diving tool. Every time the lip deflects off a rock, a stump, or the bottom, it creates an instantaneous change in water pressure and a high-frequency pulse. That signal travels fast and strong, up to 10 times more intense than the normal swimming motion of the bait. To a bass, that signal translates to one thing: an injured prey item struggling to escape. It triggers an immediate feeding response. Inside the crankbait body, the internal weight system and rattles produce a randomized sound pattern, never a monotonous repetition. That irregularity is irresistibly attractive to a bass because it signals a real, living creature, not a machine. Once the bass is drawn in by feel and sound, the visual profile seals the deal. At mid-depth, the crankbait's rounded body contour is nearly identical to a bluegill, the #1 forage fish for bass across North America. In waters where shad are the primary forage, the sleek, shad-profile crankbait fills that role. And what about those deep-diving, flat-sided crankbaits? What are they imitating? Crawfish. When a deep crankbait grinds along the bottom, the lip kicks up puffs of silt and gravel, a near-perfect imitation of a crawfish scuttling and fleeing across the substrate. There is one trick the crankbait has that no other hard bait can truly replicate: deflection off cover. When a crankbait smashes into a stump, a rock, or a laydown, that square lip causes the bait to kick up, pause momentarily, and then continue swimming forward. That motion perfectly mimics a baitfish that just crashed into something, panicked, and tried to flee. Bass have an evolutionary trigger for this: when they see something ricochet off cover, they attack immediately because in nature, that almost always means an easy meal. Studies show that over 70% of strikes occur within half a second of that deflection. This is why square-bill crankbaits are absolutely lethal around heavy cover. But the genius of the crankbait goes deeper. It does not just catch aggressive, feeding fish. It triggers bass that are inactive, resting, or even spawning. Here is how. First, territorial aggression: that bold, wobbling posture invading a bass's space can trigger a defensive strike, even from a fish that is not hungry. Second, nest defense: during the spawn, a bass will not chase a bait, but it will attack anything that threatens its bed, and a crankbait lip scraping the bottom is a direct provocation. Third, reflex strikes: a bait screaming past at high speed or deflecting off structure triggers a purely automatic reaction. Fourth, curiosity: bass are like underwater cats. A unique sound or vibration piques their curiosity. They swim over to investigate and often cannot help but bite. According to BASS research, in tournament conditions over 40% of crankbait strikes come from motivational triggers other than hunger. That is why, on the toughest days, a crankbait is often the only thing that produces. Let us talk about lips, because understanding the lip is everything. The length and angle of the lip determine the diving depth, not the weight of the lure. A longer, flatter lip dives deeper. A shorter, steeper lip stays shallow. Diving depth is 100% determined by lip geometry. The width of the lip dictates the action. A wide lip displaces more water, producing a wider, more aggressive wobble with higher vibration frequency. a narrow lip produces a tighter, more subtle action. Square bills excel in shallow water with heavy structure. Their deflection ability is unmatched, and they rarely hang up. They typically run less than 10 feet deep. Round bills are built for open water searching, with a more stable, consistent wobble at any retrieve speed. They are the go-to for reservoirs, points, and open banks. What can you catch on a crankbait besides bass? Almost everything. Pike, walleye, crappie, catfish, striper, trout, pretty much any predatory freshwater fish will hammer a crankbait. When you are on a multi-species lake, tie on a crankbait and you might be surprised what comes up. Now some hard-won advice for beginners. Number 1. Do not buy cheap, off-brand crankbaits. Sub-$10 crankbaits almost always have inconsistent action and poor quality hooks. You will not catch fish, and you will lose confidence. Number 2. Do not obsess over color. The formula is simple: natural colors in clear water under sunny skies, dark or bold colors in murky water or overcast conditions. You only need 2 of the same model to be covered. If you are fishing a shallower crankbait where you can sight fish, pick a bright back color like chartreuse or a bright yellow so you can track the bait and see the strike. Number 3. Do not buy crankbaits that dive deeper than 3 meters as a beginner. If you need to reach deep fish, a Texas rig or a football jig is a far better tool. Deep cranking requires specific gear, experience, and the right conditions. Pick the wrong diving depth and you will kill the action, hang up constantly, and waste money. The crankbait is the most complete fishing lure ever designed. As legendary angler Kevin Van Dam said, it is the closest thing to a perfect fishing lure. You do not need world-class technique, you just cast it out and it catches fish for you. If you are serious about getting into freshwater bass fishing, bookmark this information and come back to it before you hit the water. And if you have any questions about crankbaits or anything else in bass fishing, drop them in the comments. Tight lines.